Today we're going to make some Irish soda bread. Now this is based on my mother-in-law's recipe. She was born and raised in Dublin, Ireland, left there when she was a teenager with her family to move here to the United States. And this is their recipe. Just like any traditional sort of dish, you're going to find variations across the culture. So your family, if they're Irish, might make this completely differently. Now we're starting with 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now, if you're using regular table salt here, cut this in half. 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, I want to whisk our dry ingredients together. Now, I have a 1/4 cup of salted butter that's going in here, and we're going to cut this in. I'm going to use a pastry cutter. If you don't have that, you can just use a fork and really break it in there until you get sort of almost like a coarse meal texture with the butter. And we're going to splash some flour everywhere. So you just start cutting it in and working it around. It'll take a while. How much flour is going to end up on me and how much is going to end up in the bread? You'll see you'll have that butter that gets stuck in here. Just go ahead and break it out of there if you're using a pastry cutter like this, or a fork. It's going to get caught between the tines. And really, we just want that butter to be in small, broken down pieces in here. And at this point, if you go through with your hands and you feel it, you'll see those little tiny pieces of butter in there. And if there's any big ones, just break them up in there. All right, our dry ingredients are ready. Let's move on to our wet ingredients. First up, we are going to add 2 cups of buttermilk. Finally, 1 egg. I'm just going to get in here with my little spatula and mix this all together. So really want to get all that dry flour incorporated. This is going to be kind of a shaggy dough before we knead it on the board here. Flour up our board a bit here. And we're going to work this together and knead it. It'll all come together. So a little more flour here. Just use your bench scraper if you need to. And at about this time, your oven should be preheating to 400 degrees. All right, it is time to get this into our pan. So I have a 9 by 5 by 3 loaf pan here. I've greased it with some butter. And get our dough in here and just give it a light press into the corners. Now this is going to go into our 400 degree oven for 1 hour. And always around that time, you can just stick a toothpick in there, see if it's coming out without any sort of damp batter on it. That's when it's done. Every oven's different, so it might take a little more, a little less. So we're gonna get this in and I'll see you back here in an hour. Here is our Irish soda bread. And now the first thing we need to do is get it out of our pan. And if we've greased it correctly, and because there is some butter in there, it should slide out easily, but we can always run a little offset spatula around the edge. But let's get it out of here because it needs to cool down on this rack for about an hour. I think it's coming out. There we go. So we're going to let this rest for an hour, then we'll come back, slice in, get some great Irish butter on it, and have a taste. So we've been resting just about an hour now. It's just still slightly warm, but it's time to cut in because I want to taste. Oh, it smells so good. I want to get some Irish butter on here. This is some Kerrygold butter. I think if you can get this to where it's just still warm enough that the butter starts to melt, that's perfect. If it's totally cooled down, it'll be fine, but there's something good about this when it's just warm enough. Well, let's have a taste. Cheers. This is the perfect butter delivery vehicle, bar none. It's got great body to it, but it's not so dense that the butter can't seep in. It's amazing. One of the things I love about different Irish breads, whether it's Irish soda bread, Irish brown bread, is there's just that fillingness to it. It's substantial. It's the kind of bread that really can fill you up, and that's okay with me.